We are at a very special place today. Rather than I tell where we are, I will let our special guest talk to you and tell where we are today.
Alhamdulillah, this is indeed a special place because almost 40 years ago in 1981, IMRC took birthplace here in this, our house, backyard, in our room. This is where we used to meet. All the volunteers used to come from Stanford, San Jose, and many of them used to come and work here, volunteer here. All started with few of us. One day after Eid, we were having a dinner, and then we decided that in 1980 there were riots, and what are the Muslims, how they are suffering, what we can do. Actually, when Assam riot took place, then we formed the organization, registered the organizations. However, in 1980, there were riots in India, and Muslim Student Association president formed a committee with the MSA, formed the Indian Muslim Relief Committee. That's how it started. Okay. And then it became later on Indian Muslim Relief and Charities. First 15 years, IMRC, this was my home. A room in the back of the home is the office. And all of us did our jobs during the day, and students used to go to their schools and come in the evening, and then we used to volunteer. And we used to have regular meeting. Pretty much almost every day we used to have some volunteers come from different places. First it was formed as a committee by MSA, and MSA in the beginning helped us a lot. So Muslim Student Association, their office was in Plainfield, Indiana, and it was a student organization, and we worked in the beginning with the students. And at that time, there was not that big community. Like in 1970s, when we started work, but actually in 80 it was formed. Okay. But initial work was going on even before that. But formally it became the committee in 1981. Alhamdulillah, for first 15 years, we had a lot of activities. IMRC took place in my house and as well as in local community center. In our house, we had Mushaira, Maulana Yusuf Islahi came many times. Not only that, Maulana Abul Hassan Nadawi, he stayed with us in the house for 2 weeks. And also we had famous poet Hafiz Mirati. His mushaira was at my house. And we used to have a lot of activities. Alhamdulillah, we are very lucky to be able to have all these programs and build IMRC from the ground, and with the dedicated volunteers, that was made possible.
Manzoor bhai, we all know you. I have been here for 22 years. I have been seeing you working all the community work. Could you please tell us something about the journey, your childhood, what you have been through?
You're asking, which takes me back to my old memory lanes. You'll be surprised that I have such an affinity with the poverty as well as refugees, because I myself is one.
We have gone through all this. That's why we see all in you.
When I was growing up, my mother always cried and explained how our village was destroyed when it was invaded in 1948, and how the village was burned down. People were shot to death. Many of the youth, adults disappeared in the jungles for years. They didn't come back home. So it is hard to speak.
And you were one of the 6 siblings.
Yes.
You were saying, yeah. You were the youngest among all of them.
Yes.
Very young.
I was lucky in that way.
Mhm.
The older sibling took care of.
Your whole family.
Yeah. Since I'm originally from a poor family, I went to regular schools, government schools, like in late 40s, early 50s. In India, schools, the village type of school, you sit on the ground, and you might have seen all those. So that's how I went. And then I went to middle school, high school, all Urdu medium government schools. And then went to college and did my bachelor's from Osmania University. And then came here in 1968 and to join University of Eastern Illinois, because that's the only place I got the scholarship.
Mhm.
So Alhamdulillah, I did my bachelor's again with medical technology and biochemistry, and then got the license as a clinical scientist. Did work for Decatur Memorial in Peoria Hospital until 1974, then migrated to California in 1974. In between, in 1972, I went back home and got married. The first social work I can think of is from my mother.
Mhm.
Even though we had a very humble living in our all-on neighborhood, on Thursdays and Mondays, my mother used to make a tray of food, and we used to take it to the masjid after Maghrib time, and we will leave the tray there, pray Maghrib, and come home. And then after Isha, we'll go and pick up the tray. And so the people who are in need, who didn't have the food, they could come and eat. And all this tradition, I think we have lost back home as well as here.
So yeah, thank you, Manzoor bhai, for taking us to your childhood and all the hardship you have gone through and what your mother inspired you in all your life. Please take us to the journey, how you came up with the idea of IMRC, what kind of challenges you had, and what were the initial days of IMRC?
IMRC was not a planned organization with the grandeur schemes and mission and objectives defined. It was a need. There was a need, and we wanted to fulfill that need. And when I came in 1968 in the United States, the Gujarat riots were still fairly fresh, because 67, I believe, there was a big riot in Gujarat, and people were talking about it. And after that, continuously, there is something is happening in India. And there will be news coming, either the riots or the droughts or the floods. There is always hundreds and millions of people are in need, and we need to do something about it. India is a big country with at least 150 to 200 million people below poverty line. And there's always need. And a lot of people in US, even at that time, did not have that connection or the feeling that we need to do something about it. So when these things were coming in, MSA, they had formed different committees already, committee for the Palestine, committee for Syria committee, for all different regions, Africa. They were all there. So then it was decided that there should be something to be done for the Muslims in India. And that was in almost 1980. When I was in college, we were very busy, studying and like usual.
Yeah.
So from 1968 to 72, I was busy. We did not do much for IMRC or the Muslims of India. But the awareness was there. And then as we met more people, and plus there was not that many people. You'll be surprised in Bay Area. When I came in 1974, there was only one masjid in San Francisco on Crescent Avenue.
No MCA, nothing. They came very later, actually. Yeah.
So, and also, when we started Jummah prayer here, sometime we had to pray Zohar in Sunnyvale Community Center because we didn't have 5 people to pray Jummah. Dr. Wahid Siddiqui, Mertz Dalin, Ishrat Hakim, myself, and then about 8-10 people used to come who cannot count on fingers. So now if you look at it, we have, alhamdulillah, more than 50 masajid and organizations, 100 places, Jummah. So it is very difficult for people to go back and think the challenges which the earlier generation went through. In whether it is formation of the organizations or the social work or the masajid or the schools. Earlier generation did a lot of sacrifices and unity which was there. It was just amazing, really. As community grew, they became more divided on basis of ethnicity, language, culture. All these things came. And I don't know whether it's good or bad, but alhamdulillah, when, for example, MCA was starting, just imagine the basic group which we had, they all committed that even though our salary was between $600 and $700 a month at that time for college graduate in Bay Area, and we all committed between $1,000 and $5,000, at least 1 month's salary, everybody. Just imagine what could be done if people today make that commitment. And not even, I would not say a month, even 2 weeks.
Yeah, you can raise millions.
Yes, not only raised and services which we can provide to not our own community. As a Muslims, if we are just doing for our community, this is not enough. We have to do for our community surrounding which we are living.
That's true.
Like, for example, Project Nisawi, a North American Islamic shelter, which we started, that is for community. Anybody, even non-Muslims, can come during their time of distress in the shelter, and we provide food and clothing and everything for them till they can get on their feet for about at least 3 months. So we need to do more. The biggest challenges for the IMRC in the beginning was the numbers. There was not that many people, because very few people from India, especially the Muslims. So if you want to do the project, there's always challenges of finance and how to do it, and then also implementation in India. That's another big challenge. Even if you could generate the resources, but the implementation in India was very limited. We did not have that many social service organizations in India to work with. So always challenges are there with the people, getting volunteer, right-minded people. One of the big challenges is working together. Even today, if you look at it, we keep dividing ourselves in India. That challenge has been there. if we think of ethnicity, language, culture, all these challenges. But if you come as a Muslim in an Islamic perspective, then it becomes easier. In a matter of fact, if you look at the organizations which were there, I don't want to name there were many organizations which were there. And even when we started in 1982, I went to an Indian organization to support 50 orphans which were in need in Jamshedpur, I believe, after the riot. And even though they just imagine they had an office at that time in Chicago. And they were said, well, we'll think about it and this and that. But more focus was on culture, preserving language, which is nothing wrong with it, But at the same time, there's lack of empathy, sympathy, awareness, suffering for the poor. Yes, de denge, kar denge. Not that, yes, I have also that responsibility. So that challenge was there. But Alhamdulillah, there's a lot more awareness now. And the generation which is coming from India now seems to be a little more aware. And the children who are growing up here also, because of the media and social media and a lot of things, there's a lot more awareness. But at the same time, the challenges, number one challenges is of unity, in my opinion. And resources usually come in, but proper utilization of the resources is also very important. So those are the challenges. Our first project which we did was support orphan and destitute children after the riot. So that's how it started, the first project which we did. We supported about 100 children there. And then slowly, as the challenges became more and more, we did not plan, this is what we are going to build the hospital, we are going to do the colleges, the schools, and so on. But as the need came, we had to take care of it. For example, after the cyclone, which was there in India, thousands, hundreds of villages were gone, and then Christian organizations went there. And after 3-4 years, we get the news that 6,000 Muslims have become murtad in that area, coastal Andhra Pradesh, between Machilipatnam to Orissa. Now we were wondering, what can we do
Bring them back.
to why they're becoming like that, number one. So we did a study, we did a survey, village to village. We did about 1,000 village surveys, and then found out where became murtad people. These are the 100 villages. This is where we became. And then where were the most affected areas. Then we found out, I myself spent the time and went to village to find out the condition of the Muslims. I had to go through 6 or 7 villages before I find a person who can recite Surah Fatiha. And that person was almost 80 years old. Then they are Muslims, they never seen Quran, Sheikh. They said it is Pavitra book, it's a heavenly book, we have not seen it. And till then, I myself did not know that the condition is like that. And they are economically so poor. They don't have even one meal a day. or proper clothing to cover, or shelter to hide their head in these villages. When these Christian missionary go there and provide the services, obviously they are going to.
Yeah.
So these, as time goes back, you learn these things. We assume that I'm from India, I know everything. But you don't.
Till you do the research, you meet the people.
So we built about 100 school and maktabs there with this prayer area. Now we have 120 Project Read Rural Education and Employment Development Project. We did not plan for it. There was a need, we fulfilled the need.
Yeah.
In Rajasthan, there was a drought. Harsh Mandar approached us. Manzoor bhai, we want to do food distribution. Can IMRC help? That was the first project we did for over 1 million meals in the grains in those villages. First time I went there and I saw that how the Muslims are living, who their source of earning is breaking the stones in the nowhere. And the way they're living is stacks of stones and little place, and they are living in there. And when we went to provide the food, then I came to know that their average life expectancy is for 50 years. They die because they inhale the dust when they are breaking the stone, and that their lungs are all filled silicon.
Yeah.
So are you just going to leave, do nothing? So we built a clinic.
Yeah.
So slowly IMRC expanded in taking the needs of the people, providing them food, clothing, shelter, education. Went to Barabanki, eastern part of UP.
Yeah.
Again, if we are educationally backward, but that is a Muslim, that's a minority district, means majority of the people in that area are Muslims. And there is hardly any college. Girls don't go to college. After high school, when I talked to the principal, he said that, Saab, we have about 700 kids. By the time we go to high school, the girls are always drop out by the age of 7th, 8th grade. Puberty पहुंचते ही वो निकाल देते हैं, घर ले चले जाते हैं.
15, 14 years.
15, 14. They don't even finish high school. There's hardly any girl who went to, I will show you the video of a girl. On the village, she was the first one to go to college in Jahangirabad.
That's one of your projects, yeah.
So Alhamdulillah, we were able to build a college. There are 1,000 students today now. It took 20 years. Jahangirabad, it was a fort. We were lucky to acquire that fort, and it took 7 years just to restore it, to make it.
And it's a huge land too.
Yeah, Alhamdulillah, it's 40 acres land inside. And now we have a College of Engineering, we have IIT, we have BA, BCom, we have media, we have pharmacy college now. We are trying to get a college of education to bring quality teachers. We cannot find quality teachers. So we need to have that. So what the idea of IMRC is to fulfill the need to the best possible way, wherever we can. And Alhamdulillah, we are able to do this slowly. We have clinics. Now, for example, in COVID, last year, there was hospital, there was no rooms in the hospital, and the oxygen concentrator people need, that's the critical thing you need, oxygen.
Yeah.
And they are exploiting, charging almost 1 lakh rupees per day. What we did was we bought through a German company oxygen concentrator. We take the air and get the concentrators, and it cost 70,000. So we negotiated so we could get for 55,000 one machine. So we acquired the machines, about 20 machines, and we sent right away to take care of these patients, which we cannot afford to go to the hospital. I cannot pay the bill.
Yeah.
So this machine is given to them free if they cannot afford it. or they will pay only 10,000 rupees to refurbish, because after they finished, after 2-3 weeks, we'll take the machine back, change the tubing, sanitize it, and give it to another person.
Mashallah.
So the cost of the patient, which is average 5 lakhs,
Came down to
10,000 rupees.
10,000 rupees. And you must have saved many lives.
Yes, alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah.
People who could not go out for medicine, with our pharmacies, all they had to do, we had a hotline, people could call and we will take medicine to their home.
SubhanAllah.
And average cost is less than $5, medicine and transportation. We cannot imagine, there's so much we can do. For the food during COVID, hundreds and thousands, I was told over close to 2 million teachers are suffering because they are working in masajid, muazzins, and private small schools.
Yeah.
Suddenly, just imagine, their income is 6,000 to 10,000. Suddenly their income is not there. They have family.
Yeah.
And they, because of their, they respect, self-respect, they don't go and beg.
Yeah.
So we started a program for them to at least have a monthly ration for them to food and survive and the clothes.
And that is a different program you're
This is a different program for under COVID. We spent over $1.3 million on the COVID programs. We provide, this year in 2020, we provide over close to 12 million meals. Alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah.
We have a program called Grain for Grannies. There are so many women are abandoned. The children are gone.
Yeah.
Nobody is to take care of them. They're suffering so badly.
Yeah.
So we take the ration for the whole month and take it there. It takes like $20 for the whole month, $25. So there's so much to do in India.
And this you're doing throughout India, right? It's
Yes,
not
alhamdulillah,
any specific state and all.
No, wherever there is a need, we have a good implementation partners. We cannot send the money. Under new FCRA regulation, IMRC cannot give the money to another organization. So we have to provide them the material. We have to provide the service. And that service all over India has to be provided. So that is another big challenge. But alhamdulillah, we have hundreds of volunteers, hundreds of partners we are able to do through them. The future IMRC I see very bright, alhamdulillah, because we have so many volunteers, so many young people, and some not so young people who are with me, but they are not in front. You do not see their name, that does not mean they're there. I have few brothers who work every day, 3 to 4 hours, on the weekend even more, volunteer. And yet they don't want to be in the board, their name is not there, they help. And not only that, we have a lot of young people joining before, more than, say, a few years back. Especially after COVID, we have seen a lot more people coming forward, joining here as well as in India. So I feel the future is bright. If I'm not here tomorrow, they will be ready to take it. Alhamdulillah, I have that.
May Allah give you a long life. We want you to be here. MashaAllah, you're very young. Alhamdulillah, inshallah.
MashaAllah, after 7. But at the same time, one of the challenges which I have seen, many organizations on national level here in USA as well as in India did not succeed because of the monetary constraint. So one thing, at least we are trying, I'm trying my best, alhamdulillah, to create an endowment. In US, if you look at the most successful charities which are growing and working, that their endowment income ratio is 25 to 30% of the budget has to come from the endowment income. And we were able to do that. For example, Jahangirabad. I know that you cannot run a university, always have the money. In Jahangirabad, every year we have at least 2 to 3 crores deficit. So we have to generate that money, and it is not very easy to get the donation for these deficits in education. In general, IMRC gets a lot of money for feeding, for clothing, for orphan, for emergencies. For education, we don't get that much donation.
You get for other projects, but
Not
not
very
education. Yeah.
For whatever reason. But if you look at it, the success to the community is through education.
True. That's true.
You and I today are here because of our education.
Yeah.
And if Muslim community has to succeed in India as well as here, we must compete, and we should have best education.
That's true. I agree.
And that's what IMRC is focusing now, building the schools, quality schools, not just, there are two types. One is just to bring enough knowledge in that village boy who doesn't know what Islam, he doesn't know how to read Quran, and do the basic necessities of Islam. That's one level. The other level is able to compete and resource generating quality education. For that, we are building those schools also. So our focus has been, alhamdulillah, our endowment is growing, and and it is not that difficult. A lot of people think that creating an endowment is a very challenging thing. Just imagine if you put $5,000 to $10,000 a year for endowment. Forever you can teach a child for college. For example, you put $12,500 in endowment, and this can be zakat, it can be sadaqah, it can be anything. That $12,000 will generate $1,000 a year forever.
Forever.
You will send a child, orphan, destitute child, to college forever.
Forever. So that could be a sadaqah jariya in your grave, right?
Exactly. And that's what I want to see more and more. Like people donate, create an endowment in your name. I have done it, my friends have done it. I encourage everyone to do it. You don't have to do all 12,000. You can say, okay, I'm putting 5,000 this year, 5,000 next. And you can tell, okay, this can go to my poor family member or a person in my village. We have been doing that. We are doing hundreds of these scholarships.
So you donate here, you
donate-
create an endowment fund here, and then
You create in your name.
sponsor a
Yes.
person there, which IMRC will route through.
Yes.
So do you have this on your form, which will
Yes,
be
yes.
going out?
Oh, yeah.
awareness
It's on
about
our
this
website, it's on our annual report, and everywhere you will see it.
So basically what he's saying is that if you put a $25,000, and we live in here in West, we don't know how our children are going to be once we are in our grave. So you set up 25,000, and it could be any type of donation, including zakat. And you are going to have, till you are in your grave, the sadaqah jariya for you. And you're one person forever. And you can, in fact, the good thing is that IMRC is facilitating, and that you can sponsor a kid of your own choice.
Yeah.
Right? Or of your own town.
Like, for example, what is your name under your wife?
Ahmadullah.
A wife?
And Nagin.
Okay. Nagin Ahmadullah Scholarship Fund. Whatever they meant today, it goes into the account.
Yeah.
And then you tell us where it's going, and that will go to support them in your name. That account will be there.
Subhanallah.
So
very
we have
good
done
initiative.
it,
Yeah.
So that way, our college, if you look at it, our Muslim community, especially in deprived areas in like Barabanki, 2% of them is going to college, Sheikh. 2%.
Yeah.
What future will this community will have if 98% of the second generation, third generation is not getting education?
True. Education is...
And imagine how selfish we are in here. I have seen, Sheikh, in 1 year to send to school $100,000 they spend. In 1 year to send to medical school. In $100,000, you know how many children can go to college forever?
Yeah.
80 students forever.
Medical.
Any college, medical, engineering, any college. Here in US, just look at the
Math. Yeah.
math and comparison. But we don't think in those terms because they are not one of us.
Yeah.
They are not part of me.
True. Yeah.
And I think that everybody who is working here, an engineer or whoever has the job, a regular job, can put aside some amount. I'm not saying all. People are, the more they're aware, they do it.
Yeah. Yeah.
This is something I think for the next generation we have to do it.
I agree. Yeah, Manzoor bhai. So there is something unique about IMRC. I know so many organizations here in US. I've been here for 22 years. So many organizations, I know. But Alhamdulillah, your donations, in spite of pandemic, 2020 was fully in pandemic. But if you look at our donations, Alhamdulillah, it has grown by 30% or so compared to 2019 in 2020. What do you say about this? How do we see it?
Alhamdulillah, it is the blessing of Allah, number one. And people know our work and our volunteers, people like you who believe in our work. We have grown more last year than any time in last 40 years.
Yes,
Alhamdulillah, we added 2,000 new donors in 2020, which never happened.
Yeah.
I think people are experiencing some of the difficulties and the challenges. When they themselves look in challenges and difficulties, maybe they are able to relate to the challenges back home.
Yeah.
And not only that, I think, like I said, there's a lot more awareness. And if you look at it, you are calling it a success. I look at it in a different way. If you look at it, the population of the Muslims of India is what? How many? 500,000? Any idea?
In Muslims? 200 crore.
No, in India, in US.
3 million?
No, 3 million is, no. In Indian Muslims?
Indian Muslim maybe 500,000?
Close to 500,000 is the estimate.
Yeah.
Okay. We have grown to 20,000 is our donor base today.
MashaAllah. So that means you have about 4%.
Out of that 20,000, not everybody donates every year. Okay. This year, out of that 20,000, only about 12,000 people have donated. So now, out of 500,000, you have 12,000 people who are donating.
Every year. Or actively.
Actively. So just imagine how much more we have to do, and our donations can go 5-fold more if we reach more people and make them realize the need of it. And that's what we need to do. And that's what, inshallah, we will focus on it. And I really appreciate you taking the time and explaining to the people the projects which we have. IMRC is unique in that way. This is the only organization which does education, healthcare, emergency relief, and food, shelter. I mean, you name it. We are running hospital, clinic, colleges, schools. I mean, in every aspect of the life. So if you have certain desire to help, I suggest you yourself or anybody who's watching, take one thing which is close to your heart, whether supporting a child for education or feeding a person, providing clean water. Just imagine, clean water is so essential, we take it for granted.
Yeah.
Like $2,000
You can have a
will
pump.
a water well which provide waters for thousands of people. We calculated it's like 1 cent cost to provide clean water. We just a bottle we use $1.
Yeah.
So just we have to do something, and that's what it is needed. Our children, ourselves, take something new. Allah has given us so much here in this country.
Yeah.
We have so much blessing.
Yes.
All we need to is share a little, and inshallah Allah will reward.
हमारे बाद ये रंगे चमन रहे न रहे, हमारा काम धाम गुलिस्तां सवार चले. Could you please elaborate that? What is the meaning of that? And it's very catchy.
Yeah. This is the sort of a concept for a person. When we are in this world, we are here, our responsibility is to do the best for the humanity, whatever we can do.
Yeah.
We don't know what is going to happen later after we are gone.
Yeah.
That should not stop us. But we are very hopeful that this Gulistan, this beautiful garden which we have created, which beautiful work we are doing, which we have created with the help of all these people, will continue to grow, and that's all we can do. Alhamdulillah, we are very lucky that we had this opportunity to help the people. In the process, help yourself, because the satisfaction you get is very important, and alhamdulillah, very good for individual. But at the same time, no one individual can do all these things. I am just one of hundreds and thousands of people who are helping IMRC. First, I really like to thank our staff. IMRC is very dedicated staff. Our board members, board of trustees, board of directors, team of volunteers. And in so many cities, we have IMRC branches. They are working very hard to help us. And at the end, all the volunteers, their du'as, their blessings, that's what make it IMRC successful. Alhamdulillah. And I hope you will all continue to do that. And please accept my appreciation and thanks to Bay Area Muslim media for giving me this opportunity to talk to you.
मैं अकेला ही चला था जानिबे मंजिल मगर लोग आते गए काफला बनता गया. This is the story of IMRC which we have been covering all day with Manzoor Bhai. So Manzoor Bhai's life has been all benefiting others, and there is a Prophet ﷺ hadith also that you have a life which will benefit others. We have seen Manzoor Bhai doing this continuous work for last 40 plus years. He is the main face of IMRC for Bay Area. And alhamdulillah, he has been running hundreds of projects. He has gone through, taken us through all that journey. We request all our viewers and everybody, all IMRC members and everybody who is watching this and listening to Manzoor Bhai, please pray for his long life and his health. He has done a tremendous job for the community. And also we want to highlight that whenever there is a calamity or any incident, any floods or anything happening in India, irrespective of population of Muslims or anybody, IMRC is the first organization. This is what I have been noticing, and I think you all are noticing for 20 plus years. IMRC is the first organization who has their food on ground, and they are the first one who will send the alert, the campaign that please donate, and Manzoor Bhai will be, one of his team members will be there and they will be supporting. So please, we request that pray for Manzoor Bhai, what he has done for the Muslim community, and we need to take his work, continue supporting him, praying for his health and his long life, and inshallah we need his guidance till he's there, and inshallah this seed which he planted 40 years ago should continue to flourish. With that, I would like to conclude it. Thank you.